Adam is a lifelong Liverpool fan who writes extensively on all things LFC under the header of "And Could He Play?" You'll find that on Twitter, by the way, and also the blog as well. Adam, it's been a while since we've seen you in the studio, but it's good to see you today.
It is, yeah. You've been saved the ignominy of staring at my face as we've spoken over the phone.
Absolutely. But you know what? It's always good to talk face to face, because we can just talk for a little bit longer and we can chew the fat and talk about what's going on at Anfield, of course. And, you know, there's plenty to talk about today. The arrival, of course, of Federico Chiesa. We'll talk about him shortly. Also, we're going to look ahead to the big game against Manchester United tomorrow. But 2 games into the new season, of course. How do you assess what we've seen from Liverpool so far?
I think quiet optimism is maybe the phrase that I would use. I think what I've really liked about what Arne Slot has done so far is that he's just been quite analytical with everything. He reminds me more of Rafa than of Jurgen, I think, in terms of how he's approaching his decision making. There was lots of talk after the Ipswich game of the manner in which Quansah was taken off at half time, and the fact the manager just came out after the full time whistle and said he wasn't winning enough battles. He corrected himself a little bit later and said we weren't winning enough battles. But I think that Jurgen would have just kept the faith. You know, Jurgen, one of the only criticisms that I would lay at his door, and it's a ridiculous criticism when you actually say it out loud, but one of the things I'd say is he was too positive. I think sometimes he was too believing that that players that everyone else could see weren't performing well enough would come good, that things would be okay, that injury wise that everyone would just be fit forever. You know, he would never look at the worst case scenario, whereas I think what Slot's done is looked and thought, well, this is the worst case scenario, let's deal with it. And I'm really fine with that, to be honest, because as I said, I don't think Jurgen ever did it enough.
Absolutely. And, you know, we'll talk about Arne Slot and his ability to make changes at short notice as well. But when you look at what we've seen so far, 2 wins, 2 clean sheets, all the main attacking players have been on the score sheet. I think Luis Diaz has had a really good start to the season, and also Ryan Gravenberch as well in that number 6 position has been very impressive.
Yeah, he has. And it's funny because, of course, the Liverpool fan base, and I'm always reluctant to talk about the Liverpool fan base when what I mean is the Twitter fan base or the online fan base. You know, they're not the same thing by any stretch of the imagination. But the Liverpool online fan base certainly is obsessed with transfers. All they care about is transfers. It's got to be a transfer. And the fact that Gravenberch has come in and effectively owned the number 6 position, performed well, got better each game, hopefully continues to improve, is essentially just been ignored by everybody because we didn't buy him. If we'd have bought him in the summer and he'd have come in and done what he'd be doing, everyone would be singing his praises. But because he didn't, everyone's disappointed and saying we need a 6. I think we should have maybe bought a 6, because I think we can't ask Gravenberch to go every single game and put in that level of performance. But in terms of what he's producing, it's been great. Obviously, the biggest test is coming this weekend. How does he do against one of the top teams in the country, which sadly we have to say that Manchester United are? How he gets on there will be a real key thing. But in terms of what he's done so far, if we'd have paid 50, 60 million for him, we'd be saying it was a steal.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we were talking, not myself and you, but I was talking on the show last week about Liverpool, and we were talking about the fans have been really impressed by the physicality of Gravenberch.
Yeah, because he's a player that's putting himself about. I mean, he's a tall lad. He's big. He's strong, and that's what you need if you're going to be in this country in the Premier League. Everyone talks about how physical it is, you know, and Slot made a reference to it in his press conference the other day. He said maybe some of the cards that we would expect to be red cards or yellow cards in the Netherlands are not even getting free kicks here. That is the sort of thing that it does matter. So a player's ability to cope with those and you know, not be ran over, roughshod by your opposition is important, and Gravenberch so far is doing well with it.
So let's take a look back to last Sunday, Liverpool's 2-0 win over Brentford. I think it's fair to say, isn't it, Adam? It was a very composed performance from Liverpool with some really good football played in there.
Yeah, it was just what you wanted to see. And I think actually in some ways, when you get the fixtures at the start of the season, you look and you go, "Oh, Ipswich away, tough game." That, Brentford at home, they're no mugs, although they haven't beaten us at Anfield yet, but they're still a team that puts it about. And then we've got to go to Old Trafford. But in some ways, I think for Slot, it's been the perfect start. And what I mean by that is, he needs to learn what the Premier League is very, very quickly, because the idea of it from afar and the reality of it when you're watching it take place in front of you are two very different things. And Brentford are a team that pump the ball up long. They like to use the big, strong players. They like to get about. They like to make it physical. And Liverpool almost earned the right to play, and then started playing, and as you say, played some really nice football. And the one with Salah, where he didn't score in the end, I think it went out for a corner, if memory serves, but it was one-touch football all the way up the pitch. If that had gone in, that would have been a goal of the season contender. It's gorgeous football, so it's really good to see.
And we know there will be tougher tests this season than Ipswich and Brentford, of course. But I think it's fair to say one of the criticisms, if you like, that some Liverpool fans have talked about in the first couple of games is whether Liverpool have got that killer instinct, or whether we've seen that killer instinct from Liverpool so far, saying that potentially there needs to be more threats on goal. And I know Arne Slot said after the game against Brentford on Sunday, the only thing Liverpool didn't do against Brentford was kill the game earlier.
Yeah, and that obviously will set alarm bells ringing, I think, for some Liverpool supporters, because we saw that a lot last season, and we've seen that a lot over the last few years, that actually the killer instinct and the ability to just say this game is dead because we've made it as good as numerically impossible for you to get back into the game is there. But that being said, I think what we did very well was when it went 2-0, we just said that's it now. That's the game over. And I think I'm right in saying that Brentford didn't have a shot on target after the 56th minute or something like that. We just said, no, thank you, we're done. And I think too often, certainly last season, too often there were too many matches where we should have killed the game, but what happened was we let the opposition get either an easy goal early on in the match that meant we had to chase it, or else we let them get back into the game. Think of Manchester United at Old Trafford. Was it the FA Cup where we went 2-0 up and then it ended up being 2-2 because we just let them back in the game? That game should have been out of sight, and the same with the league game against them at Old Trafford. Should have been out of sight, but we weren't killer, and we didn't have the ability to shut down the game. What I think we've seen so far, and as you say, absolutely, sterner tests will come. What I think we've seen so far is that that Liverpool have gone, we've got the goals, and now this match is over. But there is nothing else to be had for you here, so don't worry about it. And that, if you can't make it over because you've scored 4, 5, 6 goals, make it over because you're just not giving away any chances, and that's okay.
Absolutely. And I think we should also mention as well, Adam, that, these first 2 games of the season, Liverpool have played without any new additional squad members this summer. I know that Arne Slot has praised the physicality again of the players coming back from their summer break. And effectively, the squad has carried on where they left off at the end of last season, which I guess in part is testament, isn't it, to the work that Jurgen Klopp did when he left the club, leaving the club in such a good position.
Yeah, and it's also the sort of thing that I think a lot of people who complain about transfers, mentioned them before, the Twitterati, if you like, that moan about certain things, don't take into account the quality of what's there already. It's almost like Liverpool. You hear some of the people talking in the summer, and you'd think we'd finished 17th and we're lucky to still be in the division. Look, I understand the notion of you need to improve, because otherwise, if you don't bring players in, then you're going to get worse because everybody else is improving. I absolutely understand that. But you can, 1, bring in the wrong player, and that can be problematic. But 2, you can change things in another way. And what we've got is a new manager giving new ideas, who's coming with new concepts. And look, they might not work, and we might turn around at the end of the season and say he never really got to grips with the league. We can't get carried away after 2 wins, as you say, against Ipswich and Brentford, who, in all honesty, will probably both be involved in the relegation battle. We can't get too carried away about that. But a new manager, it's that old thing of a change is as good as a rest. The new manager is like a new player. And so you look at the squad and go, yeah, Jurgen put a very, very good squad together. I think we've talked about it before. I will, until the day I die, be convinced that Alex Ferguson was quite happy to leave Manchester United in an absolute mess because he knew that it would protect his legacy moving forward. That's not what Jurgen Klopp did. That's not who Jurgen Klopp is. He left Liverpool in a very good state. And could we have done with maybe another couple of signings in this summer? Yeah, maybe. But maybe not. Maybe Arne Slot is looking at the team and going, yeah, I'm really happy with what we've got. I'm fine with it.
And we know right at the outset that Arne Slot did say that he was happy with the squad and that he expected to make a signing. And we'll talk about, obviously, Chiesa in a minute or two. But, Arne Slot was saying, look, this is a really, really good squad. And one player in particular that I know that you speak very highly of, because I read this in your blog, is Trent Alexander-Arnold, of course. Now, he was exceptional against Brentford last Sunday. There was quite a bit of talk about his reaction to being substituted, the shake of the head after post-match and the cold shoulder to Arne Slot. Some saying maybe that was disrespectful to Conor Bradley, of course, who then came onto the pitch. But I know you're a fan of Trent. Many Liverpool fans are. What did you make to his reaction on being substituted last Sunday?
I'm in two minds about it, to be honest, Paul. And why I say that is, on the one hand, I don't want players to be happy they've been taken off. I want players to be angry that they're not on the pitch. That's the whole point. I'd be happy I've been taken off because I'm 15 stone and can't run. But I want a professional footballer to be looking and going, why aren't I still on the pitch? I could be doing better, at this. So I think in that sense, I'm fine with it. In another sense, I don't think it's a good look. I don't think it gives the right impression to everybody, both in terms of supporters watching, but also his teammates, as you say. What does that say to Conor Bradley? What does that say to everybody about what he thinks of Arne Slot? We're currently in a position where everybody is wanting him, Mo Salah, Virgil van Dijk to be signing new contracts. For him to be sat on the bench shaking his head, and then, as you say, after the match being a little bit off, that doesn't give everybody the feeling, he's going to sign a new contract any minute now. So I think on the one hand, I'm absolutely fine with players being frustrated they're not on the pitch. We've seen it from Mo Salah before. We've seen from all the best players get annoyed. On the other, I don't like the optics, and that's always a concern for me.
And in terms of a new contract, because I know you believe that a new contract for Trent can't come soon enough, do you believe that he will sign a new deal to stay at Anfield?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it, really? My instinct is yes. My instinct is that all three of them will, to be honest. And I've been saying all summer, I'm fine with them leaving transfers till late, because Slot's got to look at his squad, see what he thinks is missing, and speak to Richard Hughes and have a discussion about it. I'm fine with them leaving the contracts, because certainly Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk have effectively both said, I want to stay. So the club know that. So they don't have to be in a rush to get either players to sign a new contract, so they can deal with what's happened in the summer. And now that the window's closed, can look at this and give it the time and the space that it needs to get it sorted. Trent, I think I can understand why his head might be turned by looking at what's going on at Real Madrid, because aside from anything else, you're looking at it and saying, there's a very good chance that I win a league title over there, and there's a very good chance that I win a European Cup over there. That being said, I think the fact that he's the Scouser in the team, as everybody sings, and the Liverpool vice captain, and will surely feel that he's going to be captain at some point in the not too distant future, means that his heart will always be here. But look, Steven Gerrard is one of the best players that's ever played for the club, and he nearly left on 2 occasions when he was playing for Liverpool, and he was playing for a significantly worse team than this, so you could kind of understand it. But yeah, my instinct is that yes, he will sign a new contract, but I also think if we found out that he was going to sign a pre-contract agreement with Real in January, I wouldn't fall off my chair in shock. Let's put it that way.